In the final phase of World War II, when the fighting slowed and surrender became a reality, a different kind of interaction began to unfold. Former enemies now stood face to face, not in combat, but in conversation. In one such moment, a group of captured officers made a simple request: cigarettes. What followed was unexpected, because standing before them was George S. Patton, a commander known for discipline, pride, and directness. His response wasn't just an answer. It was a statement that revealed the mindset of a leader shaped by war. Before we continue, like this video, subscribe to the channel and support our history community. And don't forget to comment. By the closing stages of the war in Europe, large numbers of prisoners were being processed and held under strict supervision. The chaos of battle had begun to settle, but tensions still remained. For many officers, the transition from command to captivity was difficult. They had once given orders. Now they followed them. In these settings, small requests became common, basic comforts that reminded them of normal life: food, rest, and sometimes cigarettes. For the Allied forces, handling prisoners required balance, firmness, control, but also adherence to rules and standards. And it was in one of these controlled environments that a simple request reached Patton. A request that would lead to a response, brief, direct, and remembered. As prisoner processing continued during World War II, interactions between captured officers and Allied personnel became more structured. Camps were organized, routines were established, and communication, though controlled, was part of daily life. It was in one such setting that the request was made. A small group of German officers, now prisoners, asked for cigarettes. On the surface, it seemed like a simple, human request, something that offered a sense of familiarity in an unfamiliar situation. For many soldiers, cigarettes were a common comfort during long periods of stress. But in this context, the request carried more weight. It reflected a shift in roles, from authority to dependence. When the request reached George S. Patton, it wasn't treated casually. Patton was known for his discipline and strong views on conduct during and after combat. He understood that how prisoners were treated mattered, not just for order, but for the image and standards of the forces under his command. At the same time, he believed in maintaining clear boundaries. There was a difference between necessity and comfort. The officers waited. The response was coming, and when it did, it would be delivered in a way that left no room for interpretation. When the request reached George S. Patton during World War II, his response reflected the principles he had enforced throughout the war. He listened, briefly, then answered, direct and unmistakable. For Patton, the situation was not about denying comfort for its own sake. It was about maintaining perspective. These officers had once been part of an opposing force. Now, under controlled conditions, they were to be treated according to established standards, but without confusion about roles. He made it clear that prisoners would receive what was required: food, shelter, basic care. But requests that went beyond necessity would be considered carefully, not automatically granted. The tone of his reply carried weight. It was firm, measured, and intentional. Those present understood immediately. This was not a casual exchange. It was a reminder of structure, discipline, and the boundaries that still existed even after active combat had slowed. For the officers, the message was clear. Their situation had changed, and with it, expectations. What they had once taken for granted was no longer guaranteed. It wasn't just an answer to a request. It was a statement about order in a time of transition. As World War II moved toward its conclusion, moments like this took on lasting meaning. The exchange involving George S. Patton was not about a single request. It was about how leadership is maintained, even after the fighting begins to fade. In the days that followed, the routine within prisoner camps continued. Order was preserved, standards were upheld, and interactions remained controlled but professional. For Patton, consistency was key. Whether on the battlefield or in its aftermath, the same principles applied: discipline, clarity, and responsibility. The officers who made the request adapted to their new reality. Their role had changed, and so had the expectations placed upon them. This moment did not involve a major battle or a dramatic turning point in strategy, but it revealed something important. That leadership is not only tested in moments of action, but also in moments of restraint, in deciding what to allow and what to deny. History often remembers large events, but it is these smaller, human interactions that give us a deeper understanding of the people behind them. Because in the end, how a leader responds in quiet moments can be just as meaningful as decisions made in the heat of war.